Today we're doing an oil filter dissection, in this case for the WIX XP oil filter. This is really a continuation from our oil filter shootout where we take not only the WIX but a K&N, AM Soil, Royal Purple, and a Fram Pro Synthetic oil filter, and we compare all five to see what the pros and cons between all five of them are. But now we're going to the next step. We're getting a little bit more involved regarding the actual filter itself. How many pleats are there? What's the square inches? In other words, the length by the width, and that sort of thing. More detailed information. So that being said, let's go ahead. I'll come in for a zoom. I'll quickly go over what the WIX XP provides, cost point, things like that, and then we'll dissect right into the sucker and see what we come back with. Now, to quickly summarize what we found in the first film, the WIX XP oil filters are excellent. These are very well known for vehicles that have long idle times. They tow a lot of climbing, for example, long highway speeds or long times on the highway, that sort of thing. 99% efficiency rating, captures up to 21 microns, metal end caps. The center tube, let me turn on a light here, is metal as opposed to plastic. Very, very good oil filter for the money, without a doubt. The bypass material is a coil spring as opposed to a stamped piece of steel or plastic. The material is synthetic as opposed to cellulose that you find on lower costing oil filters. The anti-drainback valve is rubber. It's synthetic versus rubber. That's a pro or a plus because in very high and low temperatures, the rubber doesn't withstand over the synthetic. So a very, very good oil filter for the money. Now let's go to the next step. Let's count the number of pleats in the filter. I'm also going to cut away the filter. In this case, the end caps are glued on, but I don't want to pry them off because I don't want to damage the filter. So I'm just going to cut the filter where the end cap meets. In other words, I'll take a hacksaw, cut here, take a hacksaw, cut here, and I'll take a measurement for the square inch. And then we can compare that with K&N, Royal Purple, AM Soil, and that sort of thing. And I'll have a separate video for each specific oil filter just because there are diehards out there and they really are interested just in one filter and that sort of thing. So let's go ahead and see how many pleats we have here and then go from there. Now once we open up the filter, we can quickly see that it is indeed wire back the material. You don't find this on your lower costing oil filter, so it's a very, very nice feature to have. So if you're curious on how this was, essentially inside you have this wire back material. This was wrapped around in a circle. Here's your center tube and then your end caps, one on top, one on the bottom. So very, very nice components for the WIX XP. And before we take a measurement of the filter itself, if you're curious regarding the diameter of the end caps, the inside diameter is 1 inch, the outside is roughly 2 5/8. So now let's take a measurement of the cartridge itself. Let's see how many square inches we have here. So we've clamped one end of the filter material. We'll spread this sucker out. We'll take a marking. We'll measure it. We'll multiply it by the width, and we'll get how many square inches we're dealing with here. So looking at the length, we're at roughly 31 3/4. The thickness is by 1 3/4, so it comes out to roughly 55.5 inches of square inches. So that's a very, very good reading. I know with other lower costing oil filters, you're in the 35 to 40 inch square inch range. So that's a very, very good number for the WIX XP. Now, the idea that I have is to compile all of this information and I'll place it on a grid. And eventually that grid will be uploaded at Carsntoys.net. So we just saw the stats or the materials used on the WIX XP, the square inches on the filter material, so on and so forth. But how does that compare with K&N? How does that compare with Royal Purple, AM Soil, Mobile One, Bosch, STP, Fram Tough Guard, so on and so forth? So we'll keep on continually adding to that list. And lastly, I've said this in the other videos, but all of these filters are made for the same exact vehicle. So we're not mixing and matching filters. So we have a baseline to work off of. So that being said, thank you for watching. After this upload, we'll move over to K&N. We'll keep on adding to this list and see what we get. So until then, we'll see you next time.